I'm going to leave this up, so this is going to explain things somewhat well, and then I'll go to a different screen that'll explain things in more detail. So in iRacing, they rate you on two different levels. Um, you have your iRating in this column, which is essentially your skill rating. It's an ELO rating like you would get in League of Legends or chess or anything like that. Um, you generally start out around, what is it, like 1200, 1400 or something like that. And then in each race, you get a weighted either plus or minus that takes into account your I rating at the start of the race, the average skill rating of the field, and then where you finished in that race. So you see Kane T. Cook, the winner, has a 6,048 I rating. Second place, Andrew Fainarsh has a 7,403 I rating. Those are very, very good I ratings. Like, those guys are extremely good. The lower end of the spectrum in this race, let's see, in a 20 car field, the number 20 car is now a 2812. So the lowest I rating after this race is Chad, who didn't. You had two guys who didn't even start. So you can see how that goes. Now the other one that your license is based off is your safety rating. So you can see that everyone in this race is a Class A license. You start out at rookie in each of the four license classes. Now, if I click over here, you can see that I'm a Class A in oval, a Class C in road, a Class D in dirt oval, and a rookie in dirt road, which is rallycross. Each of those licenses and I ratings are tracked separately. So if I go look at my profile here, as that loads up, you can see the stats for my different licenses. So this is me starting back in 2015 at a roughly 1,400 I rating, and I was terrible early, so it dipped actually below 1,000. And then climbs back up, and you can just see, there I get over 2,000, and then it climbs up over 3,000, and then it drops, and then it gets back over 3,000, and I kind of stabilize there, and then it goes up, down. Right here, a few weeks ago was my peak where I was at 4,100, and then it's kind of tapered off, and it's on its way back up. My class so your I rating determines where you get put into a field. So if 60 drivers register for a session, they will split it into two fields of 30 cars. The top split will be the 30 drivers with the highest I rating, and then the second split will be the next 30 highest drivers in I rating. So the bottom 30 in this example where we have 60 drivers that register. So your I rating determines what your car number is. So the highest I rating driver in a race will always be the number one car in an official session, and the lowest I rating driver will have the highest car number. So, in a race, you can sort of tell who you're running against, whether they're considered to be a better or worse driver based on skill rating than you. That kind of covers everything in terms of what I rating means. And you can, if you look at over here in the driver stats, you can see, who the top rated driver, Ty Majeski here is. He's actually got two accounts. He is the top I rating in oval in the world. He has a 10,000 I rating on each of those accounts. Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually is also very highly ranked. But you can see me here. I am ranked number 1,529 in the world out of 47,456 drivers who have an I rating. And then you can see average start and all this kind of stuff. They track so many stats. All right, so the next piece, safety rating. So safety rating determines your license class, and your license class determines what series you are eligible for. The most familiar thing, the way that I like to just describe it, is in the NASCAR world. So the Cup Series is Class A. So if you have a Class A license, you're qualified to drive Monster Energy Cup Series cars. If you have a Class B license, you are not qualified to drive the Monster Energy Cup Series cars in Class A, but you are qualified to drive the NASCAR Xfinity Series cars. That's B fixed. C fixed is the Truck Series. D, which is the iRacing Truck Series. I think it's the Camping World Truck Series in real life. D-Class license, that's the K&N Pro Series. So that's the car that I've been running at Richmond this week. There are no cautions. You don't get cautions until you go up to at least a C license. Below that, you have a D-Class and below, you have no cautions, and you get one fast repair per race. So you can come into the pits and the car will be repaired instantly if it's damaged. And then in the Rookie Series, which I am no longer eligible to compete for, you've got the street stock. So that kind of, and you can also run Legends cars as a rookie. So that kind of gives you a range. Yeah, so Nuke Bernie does bring up, there is one series that you can run the Monster Energy Cup cars with a C-Class license. That is the NASCAR iRacing Series Fixed. That doesn't run on an hourly schedule or a bi-hourly schedule like these other series do. That runs, they have, I think, 5 to 6 sessions a week at designated times. That series, instead of being on the 12-week quarterly calendar like the other series are, that one actually follows the Monster Energy Cup Series schedule. Every race is half the length of a full race, except for 4 special events. This year it's the Daytona 500, the Coca-Cola 600, the Brickyard 400, and the Homestead race, the Ford 400 at Homestead at the end of the season. Those 4 races are run full length. So the Daytona 500 was a 500-mile race. The Coca-Cola 600, if you go to my YouTube channel, that was a 600-mile race. That's actually, I did a top split Coca-Cola 600. David, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. David in TX. This is the finish of my top split Coca-Cola 600 that I did, where I finished 3rd place in the number 30 car, behind the number 1 and the number 2 car who finished 1st and 2nd. Probably the best race that I've ever run in iRacing. Definitely the highest point total that I've gotten in iRacing. So point total is weighted based on strength of field and number of drivers and some other factors and things like that. So if you're in a big race that has a high strength of field, then there are more points available for each position than there would be in a lower race. Hope that all makes sense. I understand that it's very complicated. Most things are complicated in iRacing because iRacing very much skews towards the simulation side of the spectrum rather than the game and ease of approachability side of the spectrum. So there's a lot. The good news on that, though, is that as you get into it, there's just so much depth and things like that, where other games will run you through a career progression and there's there's a storyline that you follow in the finish when you get the championship and all that. Hey, that's great. This is much more like having an actual simulated racing career where your progress is totally based on how good you are and how good you become, and you're always being measured against other people. And unless you get to be insanely good like Ty Majeski, there is always someone better than you out there. So there's always a higher goal to shoot for, as is the case in games like StarCraft and League of Legends and Dota and stuff like that that have a real esports bent towards them that are really focused on that competition type of experience.